Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together.
Hello crafters. Today I'm going to share something very different with you. Not a card. Today we're going to be using beads. Not only beads, and these are the Arabian Nights. I got these from Amazon many months ago. But we're also going to be using some wire. Again, from Amazon. This I got from the Paper Craft Society and some other products. I have everything here ready to go, and I'm going to share all these with you in a moment. What I'm going to be making using these products, and these were just products, most of which I had in my stash, is this. These are called, and there are many names for them, they're called glue toppers, glue bottle toppers, glue pins, jewellery glue pin toppers. They have many names and they come in all different kind of styles and everything. And I've seen two YouTubers actually with glue toppers. One had made her own and the other lady had gotten it as a gift, and I thought that is really clever because I use the pins. When you lose a pin, it's a devil to find. I think what happens is the pins come out, there's residue of glue on the actual pin. I think that gets stuck to maybe paper or whatever we have on our craft table, and then that bit of paper or card goes in the bin and we've lost a glue pin. Now the thing about glue pins is if they're not stainless steel, they will rust. So I had pins in my sewing box and they were rusting the whole time and making my glue horrible. So I got the ones, I think they're the Art Glitter glue pins. You can get a pack of 5. But to get them here in Ireland, including postage and packaging, they're expensive pins. So when I seen these jewellery toppers or glue pin toppers, I thought, well, isn't that fabulous? I have a plethora of jewels and beads and everything in my stash. I could make some of them for my glues, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a bit of research, and what I found was that you need a stainless steel pin. Now these are the ones I got from Amazon. They're a stainless steel and they're a jewellery pin or fixings or whatever you want to call them. Now I am a total newbie at this. I am by no means or ways qualified in anything that I'm about to do. This is just something I did for myself. A couple of people that follow me on Facebook and Instagram said, oh my gosh, I love that, will you ever show us how you did it? So that's what I'm doing. I'm just showing you what I did, what worked for me to make my little jewellery pin toppers. That's what I'm going to do. You can just take a look at this, decide for yourself what you want to do and run from there. But I found with these little fixings or jewellery pins, this pack comes in all different sizes. And inside it there's pins with a loop. I'm going to actually take them out so you can see. Some of them have a loop at the end and some of them don't. I suppose hence for making your jewellery. Now some of them are a little bit bent, but I just run my fingers along them like that and it generally straightens them out. But they are delicate. Do you know, these are a little bit thicker now. You know, we'll say this is your standard pin that you would use in sewing. And this is the ones that I got. So the ones I got are a little bit thicker. They don't have the point at the end. They have a blunt tip. But I find, and you can see here for all my different bottles, they've fitted in, no worries. So as I was saying, you get the ones with the little loops, and then you get the ones with the little end. And I'm sure these things have proper names. I don't know what they are. I hope you can see that there. I hope my camera is going to zoom in properly. There we go. You can just see it has a blunt end. It actually sits over. It has an edge to it. So when you pop it into a bead, it catches on the opening of the bead. But these will bend, you know, so you can use them to wrap around. So in this packet that I got, it has long ones. It has all different sizes, you know, even the short little ones. So I thought that was really good, rather than just getting one length of a pin. These ones have like a ball end on them, and I haven't really used these as such yet because I've only made a few, and these ones have like a ball end as well, like what you would use in sewing. So these would be cool. You could put your little bead on top of that and then give it a little twist. So that's what I have doing this. What I also have, now let me just move these out of the way a little bit. So these are my pins. These I found were the best. I'm going to just take a little, here's one I did earlier. Oh my goodness. So this is one of these pins. And what I did was I fed it through a bead. I just took a bead, oops, and then fed it through the hole like that. Now I was kind of thinking, well, how would I keep my bead on here? You know, or do I just put this through the top of my glue? Let me just, do I just put this through my glue like that? And then what I have here is a little lobster claw, I think is what it's called. You see this little piece here? So what you can do then is just clip that on there. But it's kind of, when you're pulling it out, you're kind of, you're holding the beads, pulling it out. And I thought, I wonder if I could organize something like this using the beads. So what I did was I got some glue. This is just the cheapy little glue. I got a little mini 3-pack in my local like Poundland, or Deals as we call it here in Ireland. And what I did was I set it on and dropped some glue down into the shaft there, and I left that then to set. So that worked well for me. So then I thought, yeah, what I can do is I can pop the claw off here and then pop it on to my little pin. Now, if my pin gets damaged or broken or anything like that, rather than all this being attached and having to disassemble it, I liked the idea of having this little claw here, because it means I can take it off and put it on a different pin if I want. So it's not something I've seen anyone else do, but I just thought that it would be a novel thing to have, you know. That way, like if I don't want it on that bead, I could put it on to this bead, you know, and you have a whole different look. So that is those, and I'm just going to pop this back on here, pop it into my glue bottle. And I have to say, when I was using the other pins, I would take it out of my glue bottle and then I'd be working away and I would forget to put the pin back in. And I find that when you leave the glue without a pin in it, it gets what I like to call snotty. So the glue starts coming out a bit lumpy and a bit like a snotty nose. So I'm more inclined, when I use my glue, I'm more inclined to take my topper and put it back into my glue bottle, more so than when I just had a standard pin in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you the rest of the things that I have. I will chuck these back in there and I will just move these out of the way here. So like I said, I got just a cheapy glue. Now I would recommend, if you're using a glue, this is a glue that when it sets, if it glues on your fingers are set. You're going to need the solvent to actually get it off your fingers. So if you're using a glue on your bead, like what I did for this one, please be very careful. Now, before I got the glue, you can see here I have another bead on this one. And what I actually did was I put some of my wire through the eye here, and then I put it through the bead and wrapped it around. So the bead isn't actually glued onto the pin. It's actually held on by some wire on the pin. And I'll show you how I did that. You might prefer to do that rather than using a glue, but you can do it. So there's two options. You can either glue your bead to your pin, or you can use some wire and wrap the pin onto the bead that way. Okay, so that's the glue. Decide whether you want to glue it or not. Next thing, I have some beads. Again, you can get these on Amazon. Maybe you have a shop local to you where you can buy them. I think this was 2 or 3 different little bags of beads that I got, and I just chucked them all in there for handy storage. So they're my beads, all the different looks. Next, I have some wire, and my wire, you can see here, I have, this is a stretch cord. I did debate using that, but I was kind of afraid, although there's a good stretch on it, I was afraid it might break, and I'd hate to have beads going all over my table. So you can use that. I think the beads would be more mobile, but I haven't used it. What I have used is some 0.3mm gauge wire, as well as this wire, which is a 0.5mm gauge wire. Now, when you put your beads on the wire, you can see here, these are all wired together using the 3mm gauge. And the wire bends and stuff, but it's not like having it on a string, you know. But I liked the idea of having them on the wire because I felt they would be more secure. So that was just me and my opinion, do you know? So it's up to yourself. So that's what I have. I have the 3 and the 5 gauge wire. I also have little charms, and some of these I got in card kits, and some came in like magazines, you know, you get freebies in magazines, and some I purchased myself. And I have all different types, and you can get them online, again, Amazon or any of those, you can get those little charms. And I have all different ones. These ones are the bike and windmills and tulips for Netherlands. So I've just used all the different little charms that I have here just to embellish. You see here I have a little key, and on this one I have a little music symbol. On this one I have a little flower. I think that's the, oh, and I have a little like gear. And then on this one I have 2 gears together. So whatever little charms you have, or whatever takes your fancy, you can use on them. I also put some buttons in here. I thought it might be cute to add some buttons. I haven't done that yet, but I've thrown them in. You'll also, what I've used and I found very handy as well, is the Cheap and Cheerful chain. And I didn't use it when I first was making my little lengths. I just had them like this. And then I seen on a couple of tutorials where they use the chain and they attach little charms and stuff to the chains. So I have added chains into mine as well. You can see them there. But you don't necessarily need the chains. You can see there I have a few on there. Mine are just thrown together anyway at all. And the same on this one. You can see here for this one I put a length of chain and then I added my charms to that chain. So there's all different ways to do it, do you know? And I think a lot of it will depend what you have, and your stash will depend on how you make up your little toppers. But they're the chains I have. I've used those. And I also have some silver chain over here as well. So they're the chains. These are the little claws. I think they're called lobster claws or crab claws or something they're called. I picked up this lot on Amazon. So not only do you get the little claws, if I show you here, I can get one out, they're a little bit fiddly. So there's our little claw, but you also get links. Which are great. If you don't have the chain, you can just put the links together. You know, put a couple of links together and you're making up your own chain. But you need the little links as well. It makes it easier. But this little kit I found very handy. So that's those. I also have this selection of beads. I suppose they're a seed bead or something they're called. And those I have used in between. There are some seed beads in my mix, but I just added some onto my little ones as well. So there's those. And I also got these little ones. Now these came in a little box. I'll show you. They came in this with all the different ones in the different areas, but I found it so hard to get them out. I'm picking them out, and they're alphabet ones. I'll show you there now, you can see better. That shouldn't be in there at all, and neither should they. They're off laces. So these are little alphabet ones, but I found them terribly hard to get out of here. So I just made a little, this is like the lid off a box that I made using some card. And I just chucked the whole lot in there. I was very brave because I can be a little bit OCD about keeping the different styles apart, but it just makes it easier to find the letters. So although I haven't used these on any of those, you can see here I made a little one, and this will be a heads up for my daughter Alicia. She likes to craft and has some glue, so I thought I'll make her a little one of her own. So hence I have the little tulip there because she lives in the Netherlands. So hello Alicia. And on this one I have used the wire, this 0.3mm gauge wire. I have wired it through. So I put my little charm on a link, then I tied some of the wire around the link, then I threaded the letters onto the wire, and then I put a little loop at the other end and wrap the wire around it. So this then you can add, I can add that on anywhere along, you know, my little one there, so it would look like that, you know. So that's, I just thought they would be cool. I have made one for another friend, and I've sent that off to her already, and I put her little crafty name on hers. So I thought that would be cool for personalizing, you know, your little jewelry toppers. So that's everything that I have used in making my jewelry toppers. So I'm just going to spread these out now and give myself a little bit of room, and we'll move everything over a little bit. Charm there. We'll be using those. I'll be using those. So just see now if I have everything on screen there so you can see it. Okay, some more little charms. Okay, so I have some pins here ready that I made already, because if I was to glue these they would take ages to dry. So in order for me to work ahead, here's some I prepared earlier. So you can just see there, I took one of the little pins, threaded a bead through it, and then dropped a little drop of my strong adhesive down through the shaft, and then I just had them set like that in my jam jar lid. People, don't throw out your jam jar lids. They're so handy as little, you know, holders for on your desk. I use them for everything. But yeah, so I made these up and then I just set them like this. We have a little letter in there. And I left them then to set, and then they're ready to go. So this one, you'll see it doesn't have a loop on the end like this. So I can use that as the bottom end, you know, along here. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I have that one done that way. There's another little one I made, and I put a little link in there. And I have some links here. I have Alicia's little charms there. And then what I've also done is I've made up these little charms just so I can show you what I do, but I'll have some ready as well to make up because I don't want the video to be too long. So these little ones are just using the beads, and they're using these pieces here. So I used shorter ones than this, threaded on my beads. And then at this end, I just twist the end around to give me that loop just in there. And then I added a little link to that, added a couple of bits of chain, and then a little charm. And you see, you can add a couple of these together using a link, and that'll give you then your length. If I put that down there, you might see it better. See, when you join them together, you'll get your lengths. Now, that's not how I did the majority of these. How I did the majority of these was I took the wire and I just threaded the beads through. You see? But I really like the idea of making up little lengths and joining them together. And I'll show you how I did that as well. But I just thought, you know, you can take one of these little links here and then join your two pieces together using that little link. And then where that little link is there, you can add a little charm to that part. Do you know? So it's just all different ideas on how you want to do it. And you can see there, I've added a little charm onto a length of chain there. And I've left a little bit of chain off to the side. So I can take that little piece and I could add this piece onto it, you see? And then I can take this little piece and add that onto that if I want. So let's go ahead now. I'm going to use this one for with Alicia because the bike in the Netherlands, they all like to cycle their bikes. So I have that one. The little tulip for the Netherlands as well. And my daughter loves purples and blues. So we'll use these little pieces as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just move these over here. And I'm going to take that. Okay, so with a bead, if you take one of your pins, depending on what size it is, and if you don't want to use some glue, let's just take a nice little bead there. This one I think would be a good size for pulling up and down. So then I would take some wire, and I have, these came in a set. And there was a load of different colours. Now, before I go any further, I suppose I should mention the tools that are helpful in putting your beads on your wire and stuff. And again, this set was a cheap set I got on Amazon, and I'll leave links to what I can down below, to what I've used. But I mean, you can buy one of these in a hardware shop. So, and I'm sure these all have names. I don't know what they're called. I'm sure especially this one does. And if you're any bit of a bead maker at all, you're probably shouting at the screen now, oh, that's called a such and such. But you'll need one of these. You'll also need a snips to cut your wire. And you'll also need one of these as well. And you can get this one, I've seen them where they're using this where there's no ridges on them. You can get this where it's totally flat, and you can get them where they're ridged. But this is what came in my set. It came with little tweezers and snips, and this, I don't even know what this is for. And it also came with a hook. This thing will helps to hook and thread, but I didn't use any of these. These are the 3 tools that I use the most. So you can take a, we'll move those out of the way there. Now I'm really giving myself a very small area to work on, but I just took a piece of the wire and I snipped it off. And then what I did was I threaded it through the loop like that, and then I brought it down to meet this piece. Then I threaded both through the hole like so, and then I brought up the wire and I just joined it with the wire up here. And now you could use your tools and wrap them around. And I sat here for a couple of hours just playing away here, wrapping up my wires and getting them secure, but that'll keep your bead. And then if your pin gets bent at all, just run your fingers over it and it'll take the bends out. But these are very delicate, especially putting them in to the nozzle on your glue. I have that pin, this one here, just stuck on the side of my desk. So if I go to stick my pin back into the nozzle of my glue and the pin doesn't go in properly, what I do is I'll use a sewing pin and I'll just clear the nozzle area with my pin, and then I come back with my jewel topper and put that in. Because if you start pushing and shoving this, that little pin there is going to bend very easily. And I found a lot of, like, May made it, they have them, that they sell them in her shop, and she had a tutorial where she was saying, you know, don't be bending the pins, look after them and the whole lot. So I presume they're very much like my ones. So just be kind of gentle with it and careful with it. So I've just wrapped that around there, and then you can snip it off. You can kind of feed it back through and whatever, but I just took my snips in there and snipped them off. And then what I did was I used these little pliers then just to secure that wire around the head and tuck it into place, because you don't want that sticking out. And I used my nails as well. And I hope I'm zooming in now while I'm editing so you can see this little bit. So just make sure that your wire is in there nicely. And there you go. That's my little bead wired up rather than glued. Just like this one here is wired up. You can see I have that one wired up as well. So that'll hold the pin in place for however long. Do you know, it should hold for a while. And if it starts to peek out again or whatever, you can just pop that back in. But that's what I did now for the top of mine. And then what I did was I took some more of my lovely wire and I cut a nice big long length of it. And then I just started beading. So this is what I did initially. What I would do is I would, you can just see here on this bead, what I did was I fed it through and around and then fed that back up. So this would stop that bead from coming off. So you can use your pins now, you know, I could have used this pin and put it through that bead and then up through the rest, but it kind of makes it a little bit stiffer. So I'll show you now. So if we take a little bead and we can put it through, and then all I did was I took my thing and I just twisted the bead. That will tighten around the bead then, and that way then I can, that's going to be hidden then inside the other beads.
I'm going to speed everything up now and show you how I put this together. I'll have some music playing in the background and we'll catch up again when we have our glue pin finished.
there are the 2 pins that we've made today. We made our little one for Alicia, and we made this one. And I think what I'm going to do with this one is, anyone who comments, if you leave a comment below in my YouTube tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomly pick someone, and then I will leave it open for, we'll say, a week, and then I will notify you on my Facebook and Instagram channels of who the winner is. Do you fancy that, guys? Would you like for me to send this to you in the post? It's just thinking of it off the top of my head now. Do you know? Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. If you liked my tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. And if not, please click on the little bell icon down below. That way you'll be notified each time I post a new video. The little bots will see that and they'll tell you. So I'm going to leave it there, folks. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and bye for now.